Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
That's a lot of talk about one game tonight, Argos and Bombers, which is fine. It's a big game, but what's getting the most clicks at 3 down right now? What's hot over there?
Oh, man, there's always a ton of stuff. I think actually what's hot right now is the list of Heck Crichton candidates that my colleague JC Abbott put out. We go back and forth about it behind the scenes, him and John Hodge and JC and I. And if you look at the Canadian quarterbacks on that list, Canadian university quarterbacks, I should say, they are putting up numbers, Roddy. If you want to watch highly entertaining Canadian football and you're jonesing for it and you don't get enough of it from the CFL or you're sick of these meaningless games at the end of the season, I would highly encourage you to tune in and watch some of these games, particularly tonight in the Bridge City in Saskatoon. That's where I am right now. Garrett Rooker, who for my money might be atop that Heck Crichton Trophy watch list, 10 touchdowns, 1 interception on the season, averaging well over 300 yards per season, spreads the ball around. This guy is legit. And he's got not one, but 2 NFL caliber offensive tackles blocking for him, Theo Benedette and Gabriel Manu on the other side. There have been multiple NFL teams come up to see these guys on the campus of UBC. So people need to start paying attention to Canadian university football in our country.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
All right, here we go.
Adam in Hamilton says when Anthony Calvillo was leading the Alouettes, everyone wanted to see them lose. Yeah, because they won all the time. I mean, there are those, I will say this, that you can't help but respect. You may hate them, but deep down, there's a part of you that loves them.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yes, it is. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the RP Show, your favorite. Whoa! We're off to a great start. Daytime sports talk show coming at you from the Florida studio. One half of the show, Darren Moose DuPont is in Toronto, Liberty Village at the Game Plus studios. So one half of the show is here in Florida. The other half is in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And Moose, how you been? Happy Tuesday. Welcome to a brand new weekend.
Yeah, happy Tuesday. Weekend's too long, man, but it was worth it. Everything's great, and hope things are good down there. Looks great.
Hey, listen, it was your idea to take the day off. I mean, come on, listen. That's where I'm going to start with this. I was listening to Ryan Radio this morning. We're not only on Game Plus Television, but we're also on the radio in Atlanta, WQEE. And I was watching, because he puts it on Facebook Live, Ryan Radio, the Radio Penitentiary. That's the morning show. Way more fun than it sounds. And Ryan gave me a shout out, and he was like, hey, Rod, hope you enjoyed the day off. And I'm like, I'm like yelling at the screen, I didn't want the day off. Moose made us take the day off. I know it was National Truth and Reconciliation Day, but there was some people saying, maybe we should just acknowledge that, but have the show. And no, most shows on Game Plus Television took the Monday to observe the holiday. I totally understand that. And I'm just going to say this before we jump into the normal sports talk stuff. Did I enjoy the day off? Yes. I've been advised that I need to take more time resting. It's just not my nature. And yesterday, Moose, I was strolling the mall, because you know me, I'm a mall rat. I was doing my loser laps around Boca Town Center, and I told you the story before we went to the air. I'm not lying. I hear this, Rod! I'm like, nobody's yelling at me. Rod! It's Bill Lindsay, the guy who scored the biggest goal in Florida Panthers history with his dad, Junie, and his wife, Carrie. And they said, hey, you want to go for lunch with us? I said, yeah. And we created a monster with this Cats and Bolts podcast that Serena and I are hosting, because now all the Panther people want to go on that instead of this show. So we gotta find a way to keep them all happy. And I'll say one last really odd story, which you don't seem to have a problem believing, but I do. I was having coffee by myself downtown Boca at a Starbucks, and the guy at the next table is like, "Excuse me, you're Rod?" I'm like, "Yes." He goes, you have the sports show, the Rod Pedersen show? I'm like, "Yes." He goes, "What? I've watched it. You know Chris?" I'm like, "Chris who?" "Chris Carter, Duran's dad. He lives here. You know Chris? I looked you up. You guys buddies?" I'm like, "Yes." What's happening here? So that's all what happened on my day off, Moose. So maybe I needed a day off to get some God shots going. I don't know. What's your read on that?
I know, right? I mean, but that's just the sign, right? I mean, you knew it was going to not take time, but I mean, it's happening everywhere. I told you. It's only a matter of time before you go down there, and it's going to be exactly the same as back in Saskatchewan and back in Canada. Look, it's going to start happening here in Toronto and other places, so it's great.
The guy's name was Adam, and he was like, why? He started laughing. He's like, why are you so freaked out? I said, because it normally happens in Canada, but it doesn't very often happen here. So here we are. Let's go. Can you hit the quick six show horn, please, Director Bryce? Well, I'm dropping stuff all over the place. Ryan O'Radio says, though, glad you had a great day off. So I guess I just realized that, yeah, I needed that day off for all these reasons. And I see everybody's writing in with their own comments, and that's awesome. I encourage you to do that, but let's remember, it's the Rod Pedersen Show, and this is the warm-up, and it's me and Moose's time. So we'll get to the points when we get to the points. Thanks. EMJ Marketing text lines open, 902-518-3033. They'll provide the perfect keynote speaker for your event. Look up Joe at emjmarketing.com. So we're going to start with baseball. Number one, the Toronto Blue Jays kick off their American League wildcard playoff series with the Minnesota Twins this afternoon at Target Field in Minneapolis. The Twins host the best-of-3 affair after winning the American League Central. We all know the Jays advanced to the playoffs by claiming the third American League wildcard spot. It is Kevin Gausman going for the Blue Jays today in Game 1 against Minnesota's Pablo Lopez. And, of course, it's a full day of baseball. The Tampa Bay Rays and the Rangers meet in Game 1 of their American League wildcard series. Rangers won 4 of the 7 games against the Rays this year. In the National League, the NL Central champion Milwaukee Brewers host the Arizona Diamondbacks, while the Philadelphia Phillies are home to the Miami Marlins. And one thing that Bill Lindsay and I agreed on yesterday, could you imagine a Blue Jays-Marlins World Series? There would be blood in the streets. And while we are football and hockey first on this show, we're still sports people. We still follow it. I read all the prognostications and everything and the stats for this series. Darren, these are two very good baseball teams, the Toronto Blue Jays and the Minnesota Twins, who split a 6-game season series in the regular year. So we'll get to the poll question in a moment. It pertains to this series. But I'm sure in Toronto, the folks are very geeked up for Game 1 today.
They are very geeked up. You know, and I'm excited for it. But, like, even around here, just the office water cooler talk. Everybody's dialed into who's going to be on the pitching rotation and who's going to be left on and off the roster. It is wild. So it's going to be great. But every team's good now in the playoffs because so few make the playoffs. And the other thing I think that's really an opportunity here for the Blue Jays is you can say from one series to the next that it's a clean slate or you got to reset. But mentally, it's hard to reset. But here's a real chance, right? The regular season is gone. Your record now is 0-0. You're starting fresh. This is a real chance for that clubhouse to reset and for them to really come out and be a good baseball team here in the playoffs. I'm excited.
So the poll question today for our friends at Kia Auto Group is, I'll get to that in a moment, the all-new 2024 Kia Sportage reimagines innovation in motion. It pushes the boundaries of the urban SUV design and technology with refinement and purpose. Go to KeyYorktonKia.com for more information. The 2024 Kia Sportage movement that inspires. It's very simply, who will win this series? And I've got the Toronto Blue Jays. I'll vote for Darren. Well, he can vote for himself. He's a big boy, but he's going to vote for the Toronto Blue Jays, obviously. So that's our team. And going into the year, and all those power rankings that I read, the Jays were 6th, 7th, or 8th, somewhere in there in all of Major League Baseball. So they were believed to be a better team going into the year. They had more wins in the regular season, 2 more than the Twins that won their division. So, yeah, I'm excited. Go. Okay, Blue Jays. Let's play ball. Now we're going to move on to point 2, and that is the Yeah, buddy. Hey, Clark, where's Alek Manoah, by the way? Do we know where he is? Am I? Okay, am I? So if the Blue Jays lose this series, you know it's all going to be dumped on him. But let's just not plan for that to happen. Point two, the Calgary Flames spotted the Winnipeg Jets, a 3-1 second period lead, then roared back to beat the visitors 5-4 in NHL preseason play Monday night. Matt Coronado had a goal and 2 helpers for the Flames, while David Gustafsson had 2 goals for the Jets. In Seattle, Xavier Bourgeau scored twice, while Connor McDavid and Matthias Janmark added singles as the Edmonton Oilers beat the Kraken 4-1. Kyler Yamamoto scored for Seattle. Nick Suzuki scored 31 seconds into overtime on Monday, and the visiting Montreal Canadiens rallied to beat the Toronto Maple Leafs 5-4 at Scotiabank Arena. Montreal's Josh Anderson, with a netminder pulled for an extra attacker, scored at 19:19 in the third to tie the game at 4-all and force overtime. Johnny Tavares scored twice for the Leafs. And goalie Eunice Korpisalo, who signed a 5-year, $20 million deal with the Senators this summer, stopped 40 shots Monday night to help his squad blank the Pittsburgh Penguins 3-0 in Halifax in NHL preseason play. Ridley Gregg, Brady Tkachuk, and Tim Stützle scored for the Senators. So, I think you know where I'm going with this. We're going to get to the NFL in a moment, and all the way too soon overreactions 4 games into the NFL season. We're not even in the freaking game 1 of the NHL season. And everybody's saying how great the Ottawa Senators are and they're going to be in the playoffs and this and that. So I want to spend a little time here, not necessarily all of it right here, because I knew we got a lot of football fans here that want to talk ball, and we will get to that. But I want to know, who are the NHL preseason frauds? I'm not necessarily saying the Senators are frauds. I'm not. Clearly, they're going to be better. But, Darren, let's just pump the brakes for a second. And I have this calmly and reasonably thought out for once. You know how many teams play their starters in all sports, particularly losing teams, perennial losing teams, just to get that mental edge and that jump? And it's not that the Flames are losers, but they beat Vancouver 10-0 in the first game. Remember that? All veterans for the most. Huberdeau, Kadri, Markstrom in goal. The Flames might be a preseason fraud. They're 4-1-1. And I see people saying on Facebook that doesn't mean anything, but it's a solid start. Yeah, but that's by design. They're engineering in that way. And by the way, I'm a Flames fan. You all know Ryan Husk is a friend of mine, their head coach, but they're doing it by design. The Devils are 5-0. The Senators are 5-1. Dude, we can't put any stock in anything unless I've completely misread it. How do you feel about that?
Well, I like you're right. You can't put stock in it. How many times, what was the record for the, Baltimore Ravens and their preseason wins? Now they were
24 wins in a row.
Right. They've always
this
been
year?
A pretty good team. Yeah. They've always been a pretty good team, but they've never, it's been a while since they've been a Super Bowl team, even though they're winning every preseason game since Kingdom Come. Right? So you can't really put a lot of stock in it. But at the same time, the Devils, I would think, are probably for real. They've proven it in the regular season, and it translates to the playoffs. Great. Ottawa's, we expect them to take a step forward. We expect, them to be good. But again, you have to prove it in the regular season. They've started slow the last 3 years. So, you can't put much stock in it, but I understand. Especially in Ryan Huska's case in Calgary, you want to put your guys out there. You want to win some games. You want to change the culture and have a winning attitude around that team going into the regular season.
The point is, we fall for it every year in every league. I was reading an NFL article this morning. We're a month into the regular season, and that's true, but that's still damn early. People have the Bengals written off, and they have, we're going to get to the Patriots in a second. But I'm just saying, hey, think what you want. And later on in hour 2, we're going to go through the NHL records, and it's going to be kind of a preseason version of Deal or No Deal. Which preseason record is symbolic of what the team actually is? You know what I mean? Because here in Florida, I think Sergei Bobrovsky's played one game. One. I watched it against Nashville here. And he was awesome. He was really good. But that's only one game, and he's your number one guy. It's not what the preseason is for. It's not for winning games, okay? Our hockey coverage is brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company. In Calgary, 28th Street Northeast. Head down to the tap room Thursday through Saturday, noon to 8 p.m. Check out Common Crown Brewing at commoncrown.ca. Football, rookie cornerback Devin Witherson scored on a 97-yard pick six late in the third quarter, and the visiting Seattle Seahawks tied a team record with 11 sacks and a 24-3 Monday night football victory over the struggling New York Jets Sunday. Geno Smith threw a 6-yard TD pass to DK Metcalf late in the first quarter, and Kenneth Walker III scored on a 1-yard run just before halftime as the Seahawks won their third straight. We need a welfare check on my guy Chris Sanford, because I texted him this morning. You know Chris Sanford, you met him from the Bronx. I said, I just texted him. I said, what's wrong with the Giants? That's his team. Haven't heard back from him. So should we be worried? The Giants should be. We're learning why Brian Daboll was the coach of the year in the NFL last year. It was getting this sad sack bunch into the playoffs. But we're not here to talk about the New York Giants. Enough people are talking about them. Other week 4 leftovers, my biggest one is the Dallas Cowboys not only having our way with the New England Patriots 38-3 in Jerry World, but it was the biggest loss, the worst loss in Bill Belichick's time in New England. And the Patriots are 1-3 in a very tough division. And I wondered, Aaron, because all good things come to an end, when does Robert Kraft tap him on the shoulder and say, Bill, clean out your office? I'll go first. I don't think it'll be this year. But probably not next year. So 2025 is when Bill Belichick gets fired, just based on the loyalty of 6 Super Bowls and so forth. But Mac Jones, they're talking about cutting him, buying him out, trading him, which is another thing, Tom. You didn't want Tom Brady. You thought this guy was going to be the next big thing. And that wasn't the case. You got rid of Garoppolo back in the day. So when do you think they fire Bill Belichick, or do you think they do it all?
The stat that I saw over the weekend is with Tom Brady, Bill Belichick won 77% of his games. Since Tom Brady, he's won 47% of his games. If you want to know who won the Brady-Belichick sweepstakes, right, or the battle there, it's pretty clear. Nobody's questioning, for the most part, Bill's ability as a coach. What I'm seeing questioned most right now is his ability to bring in talent as a GM. So I really see Robert Kraft maybe making a move there, saying, Bill, why don't you just concentrate on coaching? We'll bring somebody else in that'll handle all the player management and bring in the guys and help get you a better roster. Because that's an area that he's really mismanaged a little bit, I think, more than anything, is getting the right guys in there. So I think that will happen before we see Bill get fired.
We're all in the number crunching business. As my guy Brendan Tammett always said, we're in a results-based business. And as my other friend, Mydale Mike Lee, says, every business is a results-based business. You're 1-3, Bill. You just read the numbers. And we'll get to the woeful Calgary Stampeders, who are in a similar situation in the CFL. This is what your record is. I don't care if you're a nice guy. Who's paying for this? And something needs to change. When we come back, we will talk about some CFL, some George Reed, look at the NHL tonight, some randoms. I want to talk about a very funny thing LeBron said. Did the Blue Jays celebrate too much, clinching a playoff berth by losing on the weekend? We got a lot to get to. We'll be right back. This is the warm-up. We're halfway through it. You're watching on the Game Plus television network, listening on WQEE Radio in Atlanta, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Manscaped has done it again. Introducing the Handyman Facial Razor. It's brand new and not for your junk. It's for up top. And like every Manscaped product, tons of thought has gone into it. Sleek, compact, and charges by USB. Can you believe that? Fits well into your shaving kit for road trips. Order the Handyman today at manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping with a promo code TheRPShow. That's manscaped.com, 20% off with a promo code TheRPShow. I'm in Florida. The Moose is in Toronto, and we're going to switch gears to the Canadian Football League here. When I was having lunch with Bill Lindsay yesterday and his wonderful family, beautiful family, Moose, Billy says, he said a lot of things. He was like, he goes, I looked you up. You've done pretty much everything there is to do in broadcasting. And I'm like, that's a fact, Jack. And I've realized this is exactly what I want to do. I'm doing exactly what I want to do the most. And he goes, you do a lot of CFL coverage, huh? And I'm like, well, yeah. As our business manager here, what's Joe's title? Business manager, CEO? He's like, fish with a fish are. We are a Canadian television show, so we're going to talk about the Canadian Football League a lot. And I was in the league for 20 years. So here's your Week 17 scores. Have they stopped crying in Winnipeg yet? Where the Blue Bombers beat the Chad Kelly-less Toronto Argonauts 31-21 Friday night. Rough Riders lost again. Saskatchewan at BC 33-26. That's 4 in a row for the Green guys. Losses. BC's won 4 in a row, right? Saturday doubleheader. Death, taxes, and Cody Fajardo winning. The Montreal quarterback won. They won in Ottawa 32-15 to clinch a playoff berth. And then the Hamilton Tiger Cats knocked off the Calgary Stampeders 22-15 at Tim Hortons Field. I almost said Ivor Wynn Stadium, showing you how old I am. So there's a lot to unpack there. And, of course, the iconic George Reed passed on the weekend at the age of 83, 1 day shy of his 84th birthday. A good personal friend of mine. He is voted the second best all-time player in CFL history. How about that from TSN? So we'll get to the G unit. We'll get to the G unit in a second. But, man, oh, man, do we have a wide-open race with 3 games to go. And they do ask me down here what's going on in the CFL. I've kind of become known as the CFL guy, and I wear that with a huge badge of honor. What are we going to talk about? Winnipeg and BC are tied for first in the West at 11-4, and they meet this weekend. How about that? Well, basically decide first place. Yeah, have they stopped crying in Winnipeg? Have you heard, Darren?
I don't know, but that game with no Chad Kelly was a lot closer than I think Winnipeg fans were hoping. They thought it was going to be a walk in the park. No, it's a good Toronto team top to bottom regardless, and that's what good teams do, right? I mean, we saw it in the NFL with the Seattle Seahawks. You saw Geno Smith go down, who came in, Drew Lock, and led him on a touchdown drive. You know, good teams fill the holes and have capable backups who can come in and manage the game. They're maybe not going to light the world on fire like they would with Chad Kelly at quarterback, but it's a good team regardless. And it sets up a really good big game this week with first place on the line in the West. So lots to be decided here down the stretch.
Yeah, I haven't really looked ahead to this weekend's games. It's only Tuesday, y'all, which is another thing. My sponsor, Bob, you know him, he was like, how do you not have a show Monday? But we're coming out of the Chiefs Jets game. Everybody wants to talk about it. And I'm like, Bob, wasn't my call. Chill. But that's what Monday's for, putting to bed the weekend. And then today they're all talking about ESPN. They might as well just rebrand it and call it the Cowboys Network. Like, I'm a Cowboys fan, and I'm tired of it. I don't understand. They're playing in prime time again this Sunday night. It's just dumb.
I know.
You were meeting with Game Plus all morning, so you haven't seen what was on ESPN. And like a ticker across the bottom or the headline is this week's game for the Cowboys versus San Fran must win. No, it's week 5. What the hell's wrong with you guys? You know better. Woo-sa. Thank God I had 3 days off this weekend.
Hoorah!
Yeah, to recharge and relax. Can't you tell? Ryan in upstate New York says, Argos Bombers appeared to be a good game from the highlights I watched. Yeah, well, yeah. I think Bombers led, though, didn't they, all game? So it wasn't that great. Wasn't as good as if Chad Kelly had played, but it's last week. I will get to we got to get to the George Reed thing. But, I mean, if you ever want to know my thoughts, if we're not on the air here, go to rodpeterson.com. I got a commentary running there every day. I call them on weekends. And so I gave my thoughts on George Reed's passing. The guy retired in 1975 as the all-time leading rusher in Canadian Football League history. And look, the thing is, the older people, and yes, we're the #1 rated show in our demographic, 55 plus in Canada. That's a fact, Jack. So all those people watching right now, they all know George Reed. The younger people have no idea because, quite frankly, I'm old, and he retired when I was 3. So I never watched him play live. I just got to know him as a friend. But he's an icon for all these reasons. Went into the Hall of Fame in 1979. More than any, listen, you can read that on his Wikipedia. He was cool. And what I think listen, you can't schedule feelings, feel however you want. But I didn't shed a tear over it. I had a friend call me yesterday, really nice guy, good friend of mine. You know him, Darren. He was like, "You're all alone down there in Florida. Has anybody checked in on you, how you're doing with George's passing?" And I'm like, well, the last couple of years in George Reed's life haven't been that pleasant. You saw it yourself, Darren. He couldn't walk up the stairs in our studio the last time he came on. Didn't he say when he left, he's like, "Next time I come, make sure there's a damn elevator here." Didn't George say that? Yeah. That's George. Okay? He's cool, smoked a pack a day. And his noggin was as sharp. I've often thought about CTE as it relates to George or any running back. I'm like, who took more hits in a career than George flippin' Reed? 13 seasons in the CFL as a running back, and his noggin is as good as the day it rolled off the assembly line.
I know.
You know, so it's not really about the hits. It's about how you're made. And George was made to play football and score touchdowns. And he's still the all-time Rough Riders leading rusher. I mean, I was on the radio in Edmonton yesterday. They asked me to come on and talk about him. And I got a million George Reed stories. But I'll remember this because, as you know, I'm pretty good friends with Wes Cates, the second all-time leading rusher in Rough Riders history. The Wes Cates from Columbus, Ohio. And I remember I was sitting with Wes. We had the record book out. And we're like, "Hey, Wes, congratulations. You just became the second leading rusher in CFL history. Let's see how far you are behind the number one guy, George Reed." Whoa! You're not catching him. It's like,
how about that?
50, whatever it was, 12,000 yards behind him. Like, forget it, Wes. You're never catching George. So, yeah. Hey, Patrolman Pete in Winnipeg, I like this.
Yeah.
Patrolman Pete writes in, he says, "Your picture of George Reed is one of the best CFL pictures I've ever seen, Rod." Thank you. That's the one that I put up at rodpeterson.com and all over our social media. Yeah, I took that photo because George used to come down to Taylor Field on his lunch break. He was an ambassador at Casino Regina, and we would stand there and watch practice together. It wasn't every day, but once or twice a week. And one day the sun was shining on George, and in the background was his banner of him as a player, 3 sections up. And I'm like, man, I got to whip out my camera because I always had it with me, and I took that photo. So I don't just yak it up on the old yak box every day. I got something between my ears, too. And to be honest, I took that photo probably 15 years ago, and I've been waiting 15 years to use it because I knew it would go so. And George just looked great, sounded great. Everything he said was smart. Cool guy. Any thoughts from you before we move on?
I just remember, everybody's talking about how gracious he was with his time and what kind of a great guy he was. And we have, had that. I mean, those times we spent at Smokin' Okies having dinner with him. Remember when Ricky the mascot came by for dinner? Was it George's birthday? And then Richie Hall came in and Mike O'Shea. We all had a great time. That was awesome, but that was George. But that day when he came in for our 100th show and we invited him, I mean, he couldn't have said yes faster that he wanted to be there for our 100th show. Came into the studio. And
free lunch.
He took so many hits. I mean, you talk about his mind being sharp. His knees probably took the worst of it, right? And he had the walker by the end. And he couldn't get in. And I said, "George, you need some help." And he looked at me. He's like, "I don't need no help." And he got up those stairs, 2 flights to our studio using the railing. And he just didn't want it. And he made it all the way up there. And then, yeah, you're right. At the end, turned around on the way out and said, "Next time, get a damn elevator in here." And that was the kind of guy George was. Stuff for all the photos, wanted to be in and everything, and loved having him support what we're doing.
2013 season, Canadian Football League season, George's record for most 100-yard rushing games, 9 100-yard rushing games in a season, was tied by Corey Sheets. And I remember saying at the time, that's the football gods saying, we'll let Corey tie the record, but we won't let him break the record. That's the football gods. And one day I was just hanging out with George, and I was like, "Hey, what do you think about your record being tied by Corey Sheets?" And George is like, "Yeah, well, he did it in 18 games. I did it in 16. Right? I dropped my gong. John Ohm, gong, says, I want more George stories. I love these. I could go on forever. Buy a ticket to a sports banquet I'm speaking at. Terry the lawyer. I just dropped my pen. Terry the lawyer writes in. He says, George Reed versus Wayne Harris was always memorable. Linebacker for Calgary. Bo in Saskatoon says he was an icon and down to earth, sat right next to the fans in all the preseason practices held in Saskatoon when he could come to them. So, yeah. You talk about sports icons. He came to the Canadian Football League in 1963 because it paid more than the NFL. That is probably the most unbelievable thing of all the accolades and stories you've heard about the G Unit, number 34, George. Who would believe that? But that was the case in 1963. Again, it's in my commentary. He drove from Seattle to Regina. He drove right past Regina. That's how small it is. Home of the Rough Riders. Stopped in Pilot Butte at a gas station. He's like, excuse me, sir. Unfolds his map. I'm looking for Regina. Guy goes, you passed it. Okay, Moose. You got to go. I'll see you in hour 2.
Sounds good. See you then.
The birthday boy, Mo Egger, joins us next from ESPN Cincinnati Radio. We're live on the Game Plus television network, WQEE Radio in Atlanta, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Hey, Rod Squad, now you can join the team with your very own RP Show gear. Head to rodpetersonshop.com and get yours today while supplies last. It's just like we wear on the show, official RP Show gear at rodpetersonshop.com. Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Welcome back to the show with the most. And our football coverage is brought to you in part by Sober Carpenter non-alcoholic craft beer. Check them out at sobercarpenter.com. And we are talking ball today. Let's welcome in our good friend Mo Egger from ESPN Cincinnati. Hey, Mo, a little birdie told me it's your birthday today. Happy birthday, big fella.
What did you get me? Thank you. What did you get me?
A chance to spend 5 minutes on this show. You're welcome.
I can't think of anything I'd rather have. This is exactly what I wanted.
Approved. Okay, good. Thank you. How are you going to celebrate your birthday, your 30th today?
I'm going to go to work and do a radio show and then come home and watch the baseball playoffs. It's going to be crazy. Yes. Just absolute crazy night at my house.
That's a pretty good birthday as far as I'm concerned. Mo, I'm going to give the opportunity to talk about something you haven't talked about much the last couple of weeks, and that is what's wrong with the Cincinnati Bengals.
Joe Burrow is compromised physically. Everything starts from there. Now, the Bengals' issues go deeper than, simply a calf issue. The defense in 3 of the last 4 games has been a profound disappointment. But I think what you're watching is a quarterback who is limited and a coaching staff who can't figure out how to function offensively while he's limited. And so if you combine those two things together, you are being completely reasonable if you wonder why is he still playing. It's one thing if you go, look, he's going to have to gut it out, and they gut it out, and they figure out a way to work around the injury enough to have the offense function. But they haven't scored a touchdown in the first half, an offensive touchdown in the first half of any game this season. This team has scored 49 points total in 4 games. And the personnel offensively has otherwise been healthy. Now, T. Higgins is now dealing with a rib issue, and so we'll see how that affects him moving forward. But they have started the 5 offensive linemen who they wanted to start. Jamar Chase has played every game. Joe Mixon has played every game. Joe Burrow is not healthy, and he's not comfortable, and they haven't figured out a way to work around that. They've had him throw way too much. On Sunday, you saw a game plan the Tennessee Titans employed, which I think is going to be copied all season long, which was, okay, he can't move. He can't throw deep. We're not going to give him time to throw deep. We're going to come after him. We're going to send a lot of guys. And if he can't move out of the pocket, we're going to bring him to the ground. That is a recipe not only for your offense to not function, but for your quarterback to suffer further injury. And so the first 4 games, frankly, could not have been more disastrous for a team that had bona fide Super Bowl aspirations. And moving forward, they say Joe is going to play on Sunday. Again, I think you're being reasonable if you question whether or not that is the right thing to do.
Yeah, and that's at Arizona. But I just checked my notes. The Bengals were favored by 2.5 going into Tennessee. So I guess if Joe was healthy, they would have had a chance. But everything falls on the coach. So what did Zach Taylor say after that game? Why he left him in, and what is he saying about why he's starting this week when it's very obvious to everybody? Because just this morning on your television network, ESPN, the pundits were saying, get him out. It's very evident right here. He's hurt. Get him out. Why are they not getting him out?
It doesn't make any sense, Rod. They, when they lost their first 2 games, at the end of that second game, Joe came limping off and acknowledged that he aggravated the injury. And then they came back, he played, they eked out a win against the Rams. Joe wasn't good. And they talked about, look, yes, there was risk running him out there, but the greater risk was going 0-3. And I could understand that to a point, but, I'm a protect the investment guy. This team made him the highest paid player in the history of the sport, $219 million guaranteed, $275 overall value of the contract. Protect the investment. And look, I understand you don't want to start 1-4. You don't want to start 1-5. If you don't play Joe, maybe you run that risk. There is no more valuable investment in Cincinnati sports right now than Joe Burrow. And so for my money, there are a couple of different things you alluded to. One is you start him. Okay. Along with that, though, you have to tailor a game plan around what he can and can't do. That Monday night game against the Rams, up until the fourth quarter, he was on pace to throw it 60 times in a low-scoring game in which they were ahead for most of the night. I don't know how that makes sense. And then on Sunday, they were down 24-3 with about 5 minutes to go in the third quarter. At that point, let's be honest, they weren't coming back. The defense couldn't get a stop. Tennessee ate up 10 minutes of clock to start the third quarter. It's one thing to start Joe Burrow. It's something else to leave him out there to allow the other team to tee off on him in a lost cause. I thought it was coaching malpractice. And look, there are a lot of things that Zach Taylor has done as the Bengals head coach that I've been able to get behind. I think he's a good leader. This team has won 27 regular season and postseason games between 2021 and 2022, often having to coach around a major deficiency in the offensive line. This is not a bad coaching staff, but somebody in that organization has to tell Joe Burrow no. And I've used this example. It's probably not one that your audience is going to remember off the top of their heads, but in 2016, A.J. Green was going to play on Christmas Eve despite the fact that he had missed weeks with an injury. The game meant nothing. The coaching staff got him ready to play. A.J. got ready to play. The owner said no. The owner, Mike Brown, did the right thing. He or somebody else, I think, needs to step in and go, look, Joe, we know you want to play. We appreciate it. Your teammates respect it. Everybody respects it. You need to get healthy because until you're healthy, we can't take off. And we want to take off at some point this year. They have 2 games before the bye and then a really tough stretch that includes games against San Francisco, Buffalo, Baltimore on the road. You need Joe healthy for those games. You're not getting him healthy, running him out there, unable to move every single week between now and then.
Hey, it's your job to be hyper-focused on the Bengals, obviously, but let's just back up the truck and look at the AFC, the New England Patriots absorbing their worst loss. And listen, I don't like Belichick. I just don't like him. But it's very clear it's not turning around under his watch. So how long do you think I'm not saying he's going to get fired this year. I'm not saying he's even going to get fired next year. I'm saying 2025, unless you think it's sooner or after or not at all. What do you think?
Well, Bill really speaks highly of you, and so it's surprising to hear you say that.
How about that?
I'm big on opinions, as you know, Mo.
Look, let's go back to the end of the Tom Brady era. That last year with Tom Brady, that team was broken. So, and even, when they were still competing for and winning Super Bowls, often, they were doing it with a roster that had major deficiencies. The quarterback leaves, and suddenly those deficiencies, whether they be on the roster or organizationally, get thrust into the spotlight. Look, Bill Belichick might be the greatest NFL head coach of all time. It's been hard to watch the Patriots, I think, the last 2 years and really feel like things are going in the right direction. Now, you might say they have the wrong quarterback. Maybe they do. You might say they're in a division that's a little bit too difficult. There's certainly some validity to that. But if you watch that franchise, and obviously I'm not in New England, but if you watch that franchise, if you watch them play week in and week out, and if you watch and then you combine what you're seeing with some of the decisions they've made regarding the coaching staff and just the continued inability to add the right mix of skill guys, at some point, if your franchise isn't going in the right direction, the coach is going to have to pay for it, whether you are unproven head coaches or you're a head coach who's got 6 rings. And so the time is going to come, I think, reasonably soon, where Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick are going to have a very difficult conversation. Does that mean a firing? Does that mean a dismissal? Does it mean a mutual parting of ways? Does it mean Bill retires? Does it mean he goes to coach some other team? I don't know. But when it's not working, and when it's not working for a while, at some point, the coach enters everybody's crosshairs.
For sure. And that's why I'll never be a boss, because my thing is it's not working. We can see it's not working. Let's just end it now. And I know that it doesn't necessarily work that way for whatever reason. Mo BW in Edmonton writes in and says, happy birthday. So he's got a question. He's got a question too. We'll have to bring you back because we got to run. We're done on time. But enjoy the baseball, sir, and have a great birthday. If anybody deserves it, it's you, Mo.
Yeah, thanks, Rod. It's good to be with you. It's been a while, so thanks for having me. I hope we can do it again soon.
Thanks, buddy. You for sure. Enjoy the ball. Mo Egger from Cincinnati, ESPN Radio. It is his birthday. Sports update coming up and audience takeover. Ken Reed from Sportsnet Toronto in hour 2. We're live on Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Hey Rod Squad, now you can join the team with your very own RP Show gear. Head to rodpetersonshop.com and get yours today while supplies last. It's just like we wear on the show, official RP Show gear at rodpetersonshop.com.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Lots to get to in this segment. Our final one of hour one is promised. The sports update is on the way. I was talking about the Blue Jays celebration. It's just the way that it is now. I'm not going to spend any time on over-celebrating, clinching a playoff spot. It's like Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. We're not going to change the coverage of it. It's the way that it is, and I'm not spending time on that either. But Brian in Hudson Bay, the Moose capital, writes in on the EMJ marketing text line 902-518-3033. He says, how about Texas? They celebrate after a wild card clincher, go out and lose the next day and lose the division. Now they're on the road against Tampa instead of having a bye and having home field next round in the divisional series. That's an expensive party. LOL. Regarding the passing of one George Reed, one day shy of his 84th birthday. He retired as the Canadian Football League's all-time leading rusher and voted the second greatest player in CFL history. Larry in Medicine Hat writes in, and he says, I watched George Reed play in the 1974 Western Final at Clark Stadium against Edmonton. Found out later he was playing with a broken leg. From Wilf in Steinbach, Manitoba. Hi, Rod and Moose. Sad news on hearing George Reed passing. George was asked once by a reporter why he walked so slowly back to the huddle. George replied, I get paid to run the other way. No one did it better, says Wilf. One thing that George did tell me is he was catching his breath. But that's what he told the reporters. Pistol Pete from the Queen City writes in, he writes a novel. Sorry, I don't have time to read all that, other than to say very sad about George. I got to know George the last 10 years as they were friends with my mother and father-in-law. Yeah, it's long. Brian is in Hamilton, Ontario. He says, how do Rough Rider fans feel about Dolagala? I'm very impressed by him. I hope they stick with him. That's the quarterback that's been pressed into service with the injury to number 1, QB1, Trevor Harris, and they seem happy with him. Yeah, they seem happy with him. Sports update, the Toronto Blue Jays kick off their American League wildcard playoff series against the Minnesota Twins this afternoon at Target Field in Minneapolis. Twins will host all 3 games if it goes that far, the best of 3 wildcard. 4:38 first pitch there. It's not a day where they're going back to back to back to back. That Texas-Tampa game is 3:08 Eastern. Jays-Twins 4:38 Eastern. Diamondbacks-Brewers 7:08. And then Marlins-Phillies 8:08. But it's still great. And they are pretty excited here, as you can imagine, about these Marlins. They're like the Blue Jays. They were sniffing around a playoff spot all year, and they finally got in. But they are on the road. How about this? Teams skipped by Rachel Homan and Reed Carruthers claimed championship titles at the PointsBet Invitational in Oakville, Ontario on the weekend. Homan scored 3 in the 9th end and hung on to defeat Carrie Anerson 9-7 in the women's final, while Carruthers scored 3 in the 10th end and won in the sudden death draw-off in the 11th to knock off Matt Dunstone's 9-8 in the men's final. And this caught my eye. NASCAR is fining Matt Crafton $25,000 for punching fellow driver Nick Sanchez following the Truck Series race at Talladega Superspeedway on the weekend. See, the NASCAR playoffs are here in Homestead, Florida in a few weeks' time. I'm thinking I might take that in. The sports update's brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company. They have the perfect craft beer for your enjoyment, featuring their Core 5, Good Company Hazy Pale Ale, Common Crown Crafted Lager, Journeyman IPA, Brewmaster Blonde Ale, and Coppersmith Brown Ale, 4 of which sit below 5% ABV, making them the ideal beer for your everyday common affair. So most of this hour 1 was spent looking back. A lot of next hour is going to be spent looking ahead. We'll talk more about the baseball playoffs, tonight's NHL games, whatever football topics you'd like to get to, and Ken Reed of Rogers Sportsnet as well. Stick around after this brief pause. We'll be back. Game Plus and Key Radio.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Adam in Hamilton says when Anthony Calvillo was leading the Alouettes, everyone wanted to see them lose. Yeah, because they won all the time. I mean, there are those, I will say this, that you can't help but respect. You may hate them, but deep down, there's a part of you that loves them.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yes, thank you, Rick Regan. Guilty as charged. It's the RP Show. It's hour 2. We're coming at you live from the Florida studio. And Moose is, interestingly enough, in the Toronto studio at Game Plus. And before we get into all the rest of this, which is the comments from the viewers, we got some good ones coming in, Moose, as you know, from the Rod Squad. Tell me what's going on at the Game Plus studios today. Give me the lay of the land. Paint the picture for me. Yeah, I'd love to know.
It's awesome down here in the Liberty Village space. It's humming, man. It's humming today. There's lots of people coming and going, the executives, different people. And I think it's Bring Your Dog to Work Day here, because I think I've seen 2 or 3 puppies roaming the halls. So if you hear a dog barking throughout the portion of the show, you'll know why.
Gotcha. Cool. My mind just went 17 different places. One thing that as you can tell by the look in my eyes probably, but it's not a big secret. We've got all these new viewers in both the USA, obviously, and millions more in Canada, thanks to the new television cable partnership we have there in Western Canada. I'm 8.5 years sober. Coming up on 9, I'm in recovery. I go to 12-step meetings, and let me just say this. One of the meetings the other day, there was 3 dogs in the room. And the people just dropped the leash, and they let them roam around. And, like, I'm not a dog person, but I'm like, it's not a damn dog park. But whatever. Before we jump into the sports topics, the fun stuff of the day, I want to point something else out too, by the way. I didn't tell you this. Part of it I did, but not everybody. No, I didn't tell you all of it. But, you know, I was saying that we ran into Bill Lindsay yesterday and his family in the mall. Scored the biggest goal in Florida Panthers history. I'm a big fan of Bill Lindsay. Great guy. And as we were having lunch in the food court at the mall, he said, Rod, I looked you up, and you've done just about everything there is to do in the broadcast industry, huh? And I'm like, as a matter of fact, it is. And I've settled on this. This is what I want to do. Live in South Florida, talk sports every day. And one of the Panthers has put up his place in the Keys for us this weekend because it's Canadian Thanksgiving coming up, as you know, Moose. I know. And I'm not going to say, he said, please don't tell anybody who it is or everybody's going to be asking. So I'm not going to do that. But they've given us the place to stay in the Keys this weekend. And what was my point on that other than just dropping names and big-timing everybody? I'm not sure. Oh, yeah. The Panthers are taking on Tampa Saturday night at FLA Live Arena, or what's now called Amerint Bank Arena. And I want to have the ability to take 3 days off on a bloody weekend and take advantage of the opportunity to go spend 3 nights in the Keys because we were only going to go for 1. But now that we got a place to stay, thanks to this wonderful guy, yeah, if I was calling games, I wouldn't be able to do that. I was tired of working 7 days a week, you know, and not being able to take advantage of these things. So, and I knew that you can't be a play-by-play guy and a talk guy at the same time. You can in little markets like Regina, but you can't in the major markets. Nobody does that, really. Well, some do, but not a lot. And I knew that I wasn't going to be one of those guys. I had to pick, and this is what I want to do, and it is awesome. Okay. Kevin the Medium writes in. He says, number 1, he says, it's time for Kevin the Medium to jump on the Jays bandwagon. Let's go, Jays. And he says, Rod might not be a dog person, but dogs love Rod. When I say I'm not a dog person, you know the story. I had one, a Yorkshire Terrier, Fergus, love of my life. Yep. From a dog standpoint, he was run over, he was killed. I said, I'm done. I'm never getting another dog. So it's not that I don't like dogs, but it's like when you go to somebody's place and the dogs are jumping up in your lap, not you, Kevin, but I've had it happen in other places. It's like, get this dog out of my face. You love it? I don't. Yeah, that's what they don't get. And Leanne in Regina writes in, and she says, thank you for no Taylor Swift talk. And she says, did you see that graphic, Rod, on this page's messenger showing the comparison between Baker Mayfield and Tom Brady? Amazing numbers. And you know what, Leanne, I didn't see it, but thank you for the segue. And I do want to get to that NHL topic, but we've got 40 minutes to get to it here. So I just want to talk about the NFL. If they want to talk about the NFL, I'm certainly down with it. Baker Mayfield's doing tremendous things in Tampa Bay. And I'm sure Baker doesn't even want to be compared to Tom Brady. Baker wants to be Baker Mayfield. But are you seeing what's happening in Chicago with the Bears? They're talking now about trading Justin Fields. And there's graphics on ESPN saying, who's at fault, the Bears or Justin Fields? And I'm like, I hate to see somebody vilified. I know that in week 3, he fumbled late. He threw a pick 6 that cost him the game. Those were personal mistakes. But it's not like the Bears were the 1985 Bears until Justin Fields showed up. Do you see where I'm going with this, Darren? Yeah. Baker Mayfield's been vilified. He couldn't turn around the Cleveland Browns. He must suck. He couldn't turn around the Carolina Panthers. He must. Look at the franchises. Look what Cleveland's turned into. Is. You know, Deshaun Watson was all that at the start of this season, and now they're the Browns again. But at some point, they'll be vilifying Deshaun Watson too. And I hate to see, obviously I'm pro player, not pro team, but I am. And I just wonder, like, I don't know, I haven't not watched enough of the Bears games, but I do watch the Bucs games, and Baker Mayfield is a winner. He's a winner. And I just see how they vilify players. It drives me nuts.
I know. And Justin Fields, coming into the season, was in conversation for the MVP. They thought, hey, can he take a step forward and have an MVP type season? And they kind of expected it. Well, it's not happening. That's not the case. And now they're talking about, Chicago tanking. And because they have Carolina's first pick again, they could have the top 2 picks and end up with Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. out of Ohio State, who's the number 1 receiver in the draft, Williams out of USC, and they could turn it around like that. So who knows what's going to happen, but it's tough in Chicago right now. But you're right. The franchise has been bad, and they need a complete rebuild and turnaround.
But they're putting it all on Justin Fields. And that's the problem that I have. So, hey, Chicago, forget about the Bears for a while. Go watch the Blackhawks. I was talking to a friend of the Bedard family, and apparently Connor can't go anywhere in Chicago without being recognized. It's fine. It's not quite like it was in Regina with people hiding in the bushes outside his place, but it's getting there. And you have to realize, I get it. I was talking to Serena about this. I haven't been in Chicago, but I can imagine they probably have billboards everywhere of Connor Bedard, just like here with Lionel Messi and Inter Miami. When he was coming to town, you couldn't go anywhere without seeing Messi's face. And it's still kind of that way. And that's probably the way that it is with the Blackhawks. So Connor Bedard will be fine. But it's just major culture shock for him going to Chicago and everybody knowing who he is. Can you imagine? Now, to where I wanted to start this whole thing, and I want to open it up to audience participation, 902-518-3033, the EMJ Marketing text line. EMJ will provide the perfect keynote speaker for your event. Look up Joe at emjmarketing.com. Reason I just spaced was I was thinking about my lunch yesterday with the Lindsay family, and I said to Billy, do you ever do any sports banquets? And he's like, I've done like one. And I'm like, you should do them. They're so much fun. I love it. And he's on the NHL network with Stu Grimson, the Grim Reaper. I said, Grimmer and I go on tour. We do these things all over the place. Have you been at an event that Grimson and I have done, Darren? I can't remember. I
haven't. No, I'd like to, but I haven't.
I give him so much hell, but that's because he needs it. Stu Grimson. I said to Bill Lindsay's wife, I said, listen, if anybody tells you that we were all created equal, they're lying. Because look at Stu Grimson, 6'5", beautiful man, could be a model. He's a lawyer, NHL player, broadcaster. We weren't all created equal. That is a lie. Anyways, we haven't even talked about what I wanted to, and that is who are the NHL's preseason frauds? And I understand that they have to keep track of the records. I understand you have to. Of course, you got to keep track of the records. They didn't really keep track of the rookie camp records, rookie tournament records, and that's fine because those games didn't matter. But these, what do they say? They don't count, but they matter. Preseason in any league. I could go through the entire NHL and read off their record, and you tell me if you think they're frauds or not, or if their record is symbolic of what their regular season will be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't mind calling them frauds. I mean, one thing I realized is in Canada, they're not totally prepared for, hey, it's 1:11 Eastern, by the way, 11:11 Mountain. That just jarred my conscience. Have you watched any Ottawa Senators games?
Yes. Yep. I watched them play Toronto.
Well,
they're good.
At some point, they're going to break through. If we believe in their coach and general manager there, which I think we do, and they're a good team. They've clearly drafted well, and they've got a goalie and Eunice Corpusalo. But so, Ottawa 5-1. Is that indicative of what the regular season is going to be? Say, hey, go ahead. What do you say?
Yeah, not a fraud. They're going to be a playoff team, I think, but not top of the league.
Well, if you look at the Atlantic Division alone, I don't think this is symbolic at all of what it's going to be. The Leafs, 3-1-2. How could you make any judgment of their record, let alone any teams, but let's just say the Leafs, when they haven't had their full lineup on the ice at one time together. How could you do that?
You can't.
No.
That's not indicative of the Leafs season, no.
No, and I do believe the Leafs are going to be first place in the division. I say that with a straight face. That doesn't mean that they're going to win the Stanley Cup, but they're the most talented team in the division. Now, Tampa Bay's 3-1, and the Florida Panthers are 3-2. And I've seen the Panthers play 3 games, and they haven't had a full lineup yet either. But the two teams are playing tonight in Orlando in Amway Arena. And I was talking to Randy Moeller the other night at the game. Moles is their TV color analyst, as you know, and they weren't doing the game on TV that night. And we were going back in history of exciting preseason games between the two. And he's like, oh, remember Orlando 2 years ago? That was the brawl. We both said it together at the same time. That it was a brawl in Orlando, and we're like, the NHL can't be enjoying this, I don't think. The Bruins are 7th in the Atlantic Division at 1-2-1, and the Montreal Canadiens are 8th at 2-3. Can we go ahead and say that's indicative of what their regular season is going to be?
Yeah, that's not a fraud. That's what the regular season's probably going to be. In Montreal. I think Boston's record is a fraud, though. I think they'll be better, obviously.
Really? Well, if Ottawa's going to make the playoffs, Moose, just so you know, somebody's got to come out. And it's probably going to be Boston. And over in the Metropolitan, the New Jersey Devils are 5-0. We have Devils fans that watch. Are you paying attention, Ryan, in upstate New York? I don't think the Devils are frauds, but they were a team last year. They were a team that came out of nowhere that nobody predicted. And I kind of wonder if they were going to be a flash in the pan or not, and it's looking to me like they're not. But Devils 5-0, Penguins 2-1. It's a mishmash from there, close to 500 teams. Islanders, Hurricanes, Blue Jackets, Flyers, Capitals, Rangers. Rangers in the basement. That's a fraud. Rangers are probably going to be better than that. Columbus, 2-1. That's fraudulent because I think they're going to be the worst, one of the worst teams in the NHL, probably the worst team in the East, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Because we're not a Western-based show. We're broadcasting from Florida and Toronto, but you and I are both from the West. Just taking a peek over there. Dallas Stars 3-0-1. They're my pick to be first in the West. So, yeah. You're okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
Winnipeg Jets 2-1. Seems like they're always playing Calgary. They're always playing Calgary. Chicago's only played 3 games, 1-1-1. Connor Bedard. I guess we talked about that on Friday's show. He hasn't lit it up. I watched their game the other night. Was it last night or the night before against Detroit? He was But it's okay. The games don't mean anything. Calgary Flames 4-1-1. Fraud or not?
That's a tough one for me. If I go back to my preseason predictions that we put out, your top 7 of the Canadian teams, I would say, I hate saying this, but it's probably fraudulent. I don't think they're going to be a top team in Canada, but they're going to be there in the conversation. I don't know if they're a 4-1 team. They're probably a 3-2 team, if that makes sense.
Ryan McCarthy from upstate New York chimes in. He says, oh, I'm paying attention, Rod. You had me at the Devils are no frauds. Thank you. But you already knew that, Ryan. You knew that. And by the way, I enjoyed Ryan's commentary on the New York Jets the other night during their game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Oh, that was a heartbreaker for the New York Jets. Okay, when we come back, we're going to go into open line. Texts and the streaming chat, 902-518-3033, whatever you people would like to talk about. Interesting quote about LeBron. He says he's not the face of the Lakers. AD is. There's an interesting take on that. The celebrations I haven't even got into with you. Are they too much in Major League Baseball? Obviously, we believe they are, but people do like to talk about that and give their thoughts. More on NHL preseason frauds. We'll look at tonight's NHL games, a little baseball, and, of course, football is never far from our hearts. And Ken Reed coming up from Rogers Sportsnet We'll be right back in a flash on Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
2 million liters of power creates electricity. Electricity creates.
View Casino. Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Guys, Manscaped has done it again, introducing the Handyman Facial Razor. It's brand new and not for your junk. It's for up top, and like every Manscaped product, tons of thought going into it. Sleek, compact, it charges by USB, if you can believe. Fits very well into your shaving kit for road trips. Well, Moose, let's bring him in from Toronto. You know what it's like. You just got back from a roadie. Trying to jam your razor into your shaving kit. It's a pain in the butt. Well, not anymore with the Handyman from Manscaped. And right now, get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code TheRP from Manscaped.com. If you act now, you can get a free gift.
Yeah.
Whether it be boxer shorts or a T-shirt. A big Manscaped fans here on the RP Show. So do me a favor, please. I don't ask you for much. Support our sponsors, and that includes Manscaped, you said that you were calling university football on the weekend and that your package was being handled by your neighbor.
No.
How about that?
No. I got the notification that it was delivered. They had sent a photo and whatever. But you know what? Here's the thing about if we Manscaped for a second. You use the electric razors on your face. You've used it for a long time, right? I can't.
Oh, yeah.
They burn my face. They burn my face. Every time I try and use an burns my face. I tried the Manscaped one, and no joke, doesn't burn my face. It's like I can't believe how great it is. So
no,
like,
it's
really legit. It's awesome, like really
Right
awesome.
on.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's just why struggle in life if you don't have to? And I'm talking about these Manscaped products. We've been talking about them for years. They've been sponsoring us for years. The Lawnmower 2.0 has a headlight on it. You turn it on, there's a headlight. You could shave yourself in the dark if you had to. And who hasn't had to do that? And there's nothing like the pain in the butt of trying to jam all your stuff into a shaving kit when you're going on a road. This thing is like the size of a cell phone, right? This handyman.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah, probably smaller than a cellular phone. So these guys at Manscaped, girls, whoever's designing it, they're geniuses.
Yeah.
As promised, let's make a little noise here, everybody. From the text line, Rob is in Cold Lake, Alberta, watching on the Game Plus television network. And he says, hi, Rod. From a fan's point of view, it's easy to say these preseason games mean nothing. On the other hand, you'll get a different answer from the rookie trying to make a start to a career or an experienced player trying to hang on to a career. I'm sure there's no lack of effort from the players trying to live the dream. Well, yeah. And listen, enjoy what you want to enjoy with whatever coverage you want. But what I'm saying is the best example ever was the Detroit Lions that went 4-0 in the preseason, 0-16 in the regular season. However many years ago, it was like 10 years ago. What are you watching in the preseason? If you, Rob, you're obviously an astute hockey fan. If you're sitting there at the preseason games, watching them on TV or you're live, and you're watching individual guys, yeah, I can get down with that. For sure, that's what you're saying. What I'm saying is, if your team goes 5-1 in the preseason, don't start thinking you're going to be good in the regular season, because it doesn't work that way, and you'd think everybody would know that by now. And I was advised to back off not posting social media, but reading social media. Because like this morning, they're going nuts about who's on the power play one for the Florida Panthers in advance of tonight's preseason game in Orlando. And I'm like, I don't care. Because Alexander Barkov, number one, isn't healthy. Like, it's just everybody's in a rush. Oh, my God. It's really coming to me now. Like the report. You want to follow somebody for entertaining sports coverage, go follow John Ryan's wife, Sarah Colonna, the comedian and actress. Because, do you follow her by chance?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Did you see her tweet after the Jets-Chiefs game where she was mocking, I think it was a TMZ report that said, Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift seen not leaving stadium together at MetLife after Sunday night football. And Sarah retweets it and goes, in all caps, it's because Travis has to go home on the team plane. If you're going to cover sports, can you at least know sports? Thank you.
How about that?
We're in an era where that's why I think this show is becoming more popular and the Cats and Bolts podcast, because we at least know what we're talking about. And people want to hear from people that know what they're talking about. For God's sakes, it doesn't matter who's on the power play in the first week of October. Again, unless I've completely misread it. What do you think?
I know. Well, did you see the Taylor Swift fan Now they're making their own Travis Kelce jerseys instead of buying them. So they got the 87 on the back, and it's K-E-L-S-E-Y across the back, Kelce. They're not following sports. They don't know sports. So it's the same with the TMZ articles or the news articles that are following football, right? They're looking for any angle, but it's all about putting those names, Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, in the headline. That's going to draw you all the clicks right now.
Not mine. Not mine. I'm not clicking or reading anything to do with that because I don't care. Like, it's like Joe Namath was doing this stuff 60 years ago. At least 55. He was nailing everything. Nobody cared. Doogie! Dave in Winnipeg writes in on the text line 902-518-3033. Live report from Bomber practice. He says Janarian Grant, Bombers' dangerous returner, has been out of the lineup with injuries for most of the year. He is back practicing today. Thank you, Dave, for the report. That is significant. And while it is only Tuesday and we'll be spending far more time on the CFL as we get closer to the weekend, I'll allow it because it's a very big game this week. Let me just call it up here. I'm not even looking at what the other games are in the CFL because everybody's going to be watching Friday night, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers at the BC Lions. Do you believe this is for first place in the West? Because after this, there's only 2 games left for both teams.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I expect both of these teams, down the stretch to either win their games or potentially look at resting somebody on the final week of the season. Yeah, I think it's for first place. At least it's going to give you a very big leg up and give you an opportunity in the final week to rest some key people if you need to do that. So this is big, and I think both teams really, really want to win this because if you can rest some people at the end, get some people healthy, I think that's going to be a big deal.
Yeah. To the streams. We haven't talked as much baseball as I'd like. It's not a baseball show, but that doesn't mean we're not going to be cheering for the Toronto Blue Jays. Jen from the Four Seasons writes in. She says, good afternoon. Late pop in today. Excited for the Jays today. Hopefully we can win this series. If people want to know what the Blue Jays fandom is in Western Canada, it's this. And Jen will remember the 2015, 2016, which incidentally, the last time the Blue Jays won a playoff game was 2016. But her establishment, the Four Seasons Sports Palace at 909 Arcola Avenue East in the Queen City, was jammed. I was there, so I know. Having my boneless Greek ribs. So we'll pack the bars to watch the Jays when they're in the playoffs. Rest of the year, no. Nelson writes in, our VP of Sim Events. Breaking news, Bo Levi Mitchell is back at practice and is splitting first-team reps with Matthew Schultz. Here's what I say to that. Why? They're winning without him.
I know.
Moose, don't tell me they're going to put Bo in the rest of the way. Why would you?
It's really tough. It's a tough thing because you look at Bo's resume and you look at who he is and you think, how do we have this guy on the bench? And we kind of overlook the last 18 months, right? Or the last year, 2 years. And as tough as it's been to keep him healthy, you're right. They're winning right now without him. And when you're trying to lock down the playoffs and get in and get some momentum rolling, I don't know that I'd want to change a whole lot, but at the same time, how does a guy lose a job due to injury? It's a really big
case by case by case scenario. I wouldn't be putting Bo in, and that's not because of our personal rivalry. I wouldn't even have him on the field. Kevin the Medium writes, and he says, BC will finally shut up the Smurf Mafia. I've been looking forward to this game for months. Go Lions! From the most rational fan ever. That's from Kevin the Medium from our sales department. You guys all understand this isn't the game that matters. I don't know why you're getting all wrapped up in regular season games, but whatever. You do you. I just want to spend a moment on the Calgary Stampeders. We don't have a ton of time here, and we'll get into more baseball with Ken Reed when he joins us next segment. But on those Stamps, well, I said we'd talk more CFL as the week gets closer to the weekend, but I've been following pretty closely. They're 4-11, not playing well. The games aren't on CBS Sports Network anymore because it's full of college games, which is fine. You can see why. But somebody said, if you look at what changed with the Stamps, that's the problem. And I'm like, what are you specifically implying? Because you changed your general manager and you changed your quarterback. And you take any football team and change the GM and the quarterback, that's like ripping two legs off a stool. You got one leg left, the head coach. Bonk. Usually. So what's the reasoning why? It's very easy to point out what the problem is. Fixing it is where the difficulty comes in. So what are you going to do? Bring Bo back? You can't. You going to bring Huff back? I don't think you can really do that either. What do you think is the problem of the Calgary Stampeders?
Yeah, it's tough because they've kind of lost that identity a little bit. I don't know what the solution is. I don't, because for so long it was just, plug and play. Whoever came in, you had a, consistency at quarterback, head coach, GM. The whole organization was pretty buttoned down, top to bottom. I don't think it's a Dave Dickinson issue. I don't. I think he's a great head coach. But you have to find a way to get better, more consistent play out of your quarterback. And I don't know that it's a culture issue, but I don't know, man. When I sit here and can't pinpoint what it is, we got a problem. We got a real problem.
Well, I won't be in Calgary for a while, but I'd like to sit with my football people. And don't say injuries. Every team has injuries. Don't say it. Because that's what they say. Loser organizations use that as an excuse. Accept that as an excuse. Anyways, Moose, I know you're busy. Go enjoy it and say hey to everybody at Game Plus for me.
You betcha I will. Thank you.
The ageless Ken Reed joins us next. Going to talk Blue Jays baseball, and I got some collectibles and cards, sports cards questions for him, too. We'll be right back on the Game Plus television network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Hi, my name is Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Back live on Game Plus TV and WQEE Radio. We're brought to you in part by Kia Auto Group. The all-new 2024 Kia Sportage reimagines innovation in motion. It pushes the boundaries of urban SUV design and technology with refinement and purpose. Go to KeyYorktonKia.com for more information. The 2024 Kia Sportage movement that inspires on our daily Kia Auto Group poll. Today the question is, who wins this series, Jays or Twins? 77% saying the Toronto Blue Jays. But I'm not going to take you people's word for it. I'm going to bring in Ken Reed from Rogers Sportsnet. We got a lot to get to. Thank you, guys. We got a lot to get to with Ken Reed on the golf course. Ken, can you give me your assessment? Actually, fill in this statement for me. The Blue Jays advance to the American League Division Series if blank.
If Tim McAuliffe gives me another mulligan on this hole, Ron, or Ivanka gets a
say
birdie.
hey to him.
Look, I'm golfing with
Rod
Rod says hi.
Is Clark there?
Is Clark there?
Say hi to Clark.
We're
Clark's
all
always
here.
around. He's always around.
Is that
the Blue Jays
is that
win this
Osmac?
series? If that's Osmac, there she is. You want to see Osmac? Want to see Ivanka swing? We can bring you behind the scenes.
I'd rather see her brother Nicholas, but that's another story.
Okay.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
No, buddy, I apologize for being on the golf course because we are behind, honestly, the slowest group in the world. We're at 4.5 hours right now, and we're losing it.
Hate that.
Like, I had to set it 4 hours. I was going to scrub up and look nice for you. But, Rod, to answer your question, the Blue Jays win the series if their bats perform the way they should. I mean, all year long, we've been waiting for their bats to kind of wake up. I like the fact that in the last month or so, Vladdy's actually been taking pitches and not swinging at garbage outside the zone. But all year long we've been saying, well, their bats will eventually wake up. So I guess this is wake up time because they have the pitching. Minnesota's great pitching as well, but a couple of strikeout guys going at it today, and Lopez and Gosman. But if the Jays can just have intelligent bats, they should be okay.
Of all the teams alive in the American League playoffs, how do you like this matchup versus the Twins as opposed to the others the Jays could have faced?
Well, I know everybody was kind of scared of Tampa, given that, it's been the house of horrors at the Trop for the last, I don't know how many years for the Blue Jays. But bottom line is Tampa Bay, they're pretty banged up. So maybe they wouldn't have been a bad matchup. But Minnesota, they're banged up as well. You look at Correa, you look at Lewis, you look at Buxton, three of their top hitters, and they've all been out of the lineup for at least the last couple of weeks. Buxton, I think, since the start of August. So it's a good matchup. I think the scary part when you get into a matchup against Minnesota is they're kind of built for the playoffs. I think the way the Jays are, pitching's their kind of their forte, and I think the Jays, you could say it was as well. I think the weird thing for me with the Jays is at the start of the year, I kind of said, well, if the pitching can just do its part, the bats will be fine. But it's ended up being the other way around. So that, Rod, that shows you how good I am at predicting things, because pitching has been great. If just the bats could wake up, they'd be fine.
I love the assessment. Now, to your true passion, which I know baseball is, but listen, we partnered with a collectibles sports card convention in Red Deer on the weekend. It went very well. Their first ever premier sports card convention. I know, and I wanted to be there so bad. I will be there eventually, but it's got me into, like, listen, I got this from the Panthers. It's one of my most prized possessions, this Alexander Barkov bobblehead. This stuff means so much to us, right? It's got me kind of thinking, are there podcasts and blogs and stuff for collectibles and sports cards? Because I think I want to get into it.
There sure are. There's a ton of them. There's a whole online community out there, card collectors, memorabilia collectors. I'll be honest, I observe it, and it gets a little snipey. They get a little snipey with each other. It's kind of interesting to watch from afar. They get at it pretty well. They go at each other. It's kind of entertaining that way. But yeah, there's a whole world out there that's opened up online. People that almost exclusively buy online, and then they'll go to card shows and they'll meet each other by their handles and stuff like that. But yeah, there's a lot of podcasts out there about cards. In fact, one of the biggest ones is called Sports Card Live, hosted by a guy from Calgary. So, and I know, like, Calgary, Jeremy Lee's his name. It's a great podcast. But I'm curious to know that show in Red Deer, what the premium was on Colby Armstrong rookies, because here in Toronto, you're looking at least 15 cents to a quarter. In Red Deer, I'm thinking they might have been up to half a dollar, you know?
There's not that many of them around, so
There's not.
we could probably look into it.
His family's bought them all up is the problem, right? They hoard them. That's my theory.
By the way, ask Colby about his dad's nickname, which, by the way, is Foot. Did you know that? Just ask him how he got the nickname Foot. Yeah, it's a long story.
I got a different nickname for his dad. But, yeah, his dad's a beast. He's awesome. He's a senior legend, man. Lloydminster Border Kings.
Absolutely. So, we're going to talk about your new book.
Wayne Armstrong. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. What's the latest coming down the pipe? You're not stupid. You always release these things just before Christmas. You're smart. What are we talking about now?
Rod. I don't know if I'm smart or the publisher's smart. So it's a book. They, believe it or not, they put my face on the cover of it. So I don't know if that's going to help.
Finally.
How about that?
And Rod, you love hockey the same way I do. You're kind of a purist. You're a bit of a romantic. I know you love the dub. You love all those old stories about great Western Canadian kids who made it. And I'm sure, Rod, that you got a guy from your hometown, or tons of guys who were local legends who never made it to the NHL, right? There was probably a stud and a half for the Lloydminster Border
Ron
Kings.
Winkler.
I said, Ron Winkler. There you go. And they say, you know what? Rod could have made it. So there's a guy from my town who I love dearly named Dana Johnson. We all call him Teapot. He's the local legend. He was the junior C scoring star back in the day. Everyone's like, T should have made it. T should have made it. He was my hockey hero, Rod. Like right up there with Wayne Gretzky, right up there with Guy Lafleur. So I thought there must be more guys like Teapot because every town has a guy, right? So I put the feelers out there, and away we go. We got a book of hometown hockey heroes, local legends. And I kind of flipped it around because people say, well, they didn't make it. I'm like, they did make it. They just made it in their own way. Just because you didn't make the show doesn't mean you can't make an impact. So that's my book.
I love it. Is it available now?
It's available for pre-order on Amazon, but it's coming out. Rod, official release date is October 24th. It's through Simon & Schuster. I'm really pumped about it. You can pre-order now on Amazon. And yeah, it's a really pure book. We go all across Canada. We go to good old Sasky. I got to get my Sasky love in there. We go to a former Robert Tiger is featured in the book, who it's kind of Tyson Whatley's his name. And it's kind of a cool story because he needed Robert as much as Robert needed him. So I discovered all these cool stories doing this book. I knew it would be up your alley, buddy.
Well, in the next edition, we'll talk about Ron Winkler. His nickname is Rabies, and how he never made it to the NHL. That's Rabies. That is his nickname.
Hope he didn't bite anyone. Scrap. See that's he'll be in book 2. He'll be in the sequel.
Okay, perfect. Kenny, hit him straight. And tell Ivanka, please, I miss her brother Nicholas. Have him call me, and I appreciate the time.
Hey,
Good luck with everything.
Ivanka, Rod says get Nicholas to call him. Thanks, buddy. Always, again, apologies for being from the golf course, but it's that damn group. Hurry up! There you go, buddy.
How about that?
I enjoyed it. Thank you. Ken Reed from Rogers Sportsnet. Speaking of beauties, oh, my God. His latest book, man, pick it up at pre-order now at Amazon. Of course, it'll be in all the bookstores. We'll be right back with Overtime after this. We are live on Game Plus Television, WQEE, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Hey, Rod Squad, now you can join the team with your very own RP Show gear. Head to rodpetersonshop.com and get yours today while supplies last. It's just like we wear on the show, official RP Show gear at rodpetersonshop.com.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Well, isn't this just fantastic? Broadcasting from beautiful Boca Raton, Florida on the RP Show. It's a very big day. Baseball playoffs opening, and a shout out to my guy, Kevin Gallant, my broadcasting idol, watching and writing in on the EMJ Marketing text line, 902-518-3033. Thank you, Kevin. He says, Blue Jay hot dogs at my house to watch the game 1 of the wild card series. Still hoping for the Jays and predicting they will beat Minnesota. And Kevin says, also gearing up for Bob Strum's induction into the Regina Sports Hall of Fame on Thursday. Averaged 46 wins each year in his 6 seasons. What was it, 1982 to 1988 with the Regina Pats, God's team, roughly. Here's one for you, Kevy. Was sitting in the press box the other night at Amerant Bank Arena beside Randy Moeller because the Panthers-Hurricanes game was not on television. So it was me and Moles throwing out hockey names. And Moeller just randomly leans over and goes, you ever hear Bob Strum lately? And I'm like, Strummer? Have I? He's going into the Regina Sports Hall of Fame next week. And here's one for you, Calgary. Randy Moeller's brother manages Cross Iron Mills Mall. How about that? Which is right next to Century Mile Casino, where we spent the summer for 5 weeks.
How about that?
Unreal. Regarding the game Friday night, it was a rhetorical question. Do you think it's for first place? But I'll read the comment here from Brian in Hudson's Bay. Sask, the Moose capital of the world. He says, absolutely it's for first place. Winnipeg at BC. The winner, in theory, is 2 games up because they have the tiebreaker and there's only 2 games left. Yeah. Well, I can't. You're a Rider fan, and as you know, Brian, I'm a Rider guy, so I can't get in the shoes of the Bombers nor the Lions for this game. I understand the importance. Kevin, the medium, our sales manager, is a Lions fan, and he goes, huge, because we don't want to go into Winnipeg for the West Final. So I understand that. Yeah. You talk of the winningest coaches in CFL history, the Wallies, the Don Matthews, they would kind of limb off to finish first because of the mathematics. You go from a 33% chance of getting to the Grey Cup to a 50% chance if you host that game. So, yeah, I get it. I loved how dialed in everybody is. And I'll say it again. Having lunch yesterday with Bill Lindsay, the Florida Panthers great. He's like, you talk a lot of CFL on there, eh? And I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't I? Fish where the fish are. CFL guy. Hockey first, but my time in the CFL was awesome. Set me up perfectly for this. Kirk, watching on Game Plus in Toronto. He says, hey, Rod, I'm writing from a very warm Toronto. Who will have more fun than us at this Friday night's Argo Elks game with the club's 150th anniversary celebration with past Argo greats in attendance? Can't wait. I can't wait to attend games. That's the art. Like Billy was saying, did you go to many CFL games? I said, I went to them all summer till I came back here. There's no more fun than a CFL game for a million. The NFL, there's a reason they call it the no fun league. It's a pain in the ass to get to the stadium, get into the stadium, be there, fight your way through the drunks, and then home. The CFL, granted, you're in the press box for a lot of these games, but it's roomier, it's a lot more fun to me. I love it. The NFL is just too crazy. The NHL isn't as wild. But, Kirk, you bring up a great point. We're talking about George Reed passing and being voted the second best all-time player in Canadian Football League history by TSN. I don't remember that coming out. I think I read that it came out in 2004 or so. But they said, I was like, who was number one? I don't remember what they said. I looked it up. Doug Flutie. And I'm like, okay. So I think Doug Flutie is the greatest player in CFL history because I had the ability to watch him live because I was doing sideline reporting back then in the Canadian Football League on the radio. But I never saw Warren Moon play live. And so many people say to me, Warren Moon was better than Flutie. I'm like, well, I didn't see Warren Moon at field level. Flutie's the best I ever saw. So I can't argue with the TSN list. And by the way, they know what they're doing over there at TSN. So I got to say, Flutie 1, George Reed 2, approved by this show.
Approved.
Sports update. Toronto manager John Schneider believes the Blue Jays have the pitching, defense, and offense to go a long ways in the MLB playoffs. That challenge starts today when Schneider sends out Kevin Gausman to the mound for Game 1 of the American League best-of-3 wild card series against the Minnesota Twins. Pablo Lopez will be the Twins' starter at Target Field. 4:38 first pitch. There are 6 preseason games on tonight's NHL schedule, but none involve Canadian teams. Last night, the Oilers knocked off the Kraken 4-1 in Seattle. Flames edged the visiting Jets 5-4. The visiting Montreal Canadiens rallied to beat the Leafs 5-4 in overtime, and the Ottawa Senators blanked the Pittsburgh Penguins 3-0 in Halifax. Alex J. Walling, TSN, Halifax. Tonight, among those 6 games, the Florida Panthers take on the Tampa Bay Lightning in Orlando. Do me a favor. Go follow Cats and Bolts on Twitter and Instagram. Cats and Bolts. Cats, the letter N, Bolts. We got a vote up there. Who wins tonight? Panthers or Lightning in Orlando? Last time they played there, it was a brawl for it all. We can only hope for that tonight. The Toronto Raptors open their training camp today in Vancouver, vowing to improve their NBA team's culture this season. Raptors went 41-41 and lost to the Chicago Bulls in last season's play-in. Listen to this in a second. Toronto President Masai Ujiri says the Raps must be an unselfish team this season under new head coach Darko Rajakovic. Nick Nurse, everybody was upset about Nick Nurse leaving. I talked to a Raptors guy. I'm in a sports haven now, right? I talked to him. Raptors guy, NBA guy. Said Nick Nurse wore out his welcome in Toronto. Wins a championship, wore out his welcome. It happens. Why do you think I'm living in South Florida? Everything happens for a reason. We wear out our welcomes. We all go our separate ways. Sports Update is brought to you by Common Crown Brewing. They have the perfect craft beer for your enjoyment, featuring their Core 5. Good Company Hazy Pale Ale, Common Crown Crafted Lager, Journeyman IPA, Brewmaster Blonde Ale, and Coppersmith Brown Ale. 4 of them sit below 5% ABV, making them the perfect beer for your common affair. See you tomorrow, noon Eastern.
Who has more fun than us?